Public Q&A presents AskReddit question. People of Reddit, what terrible path in life no one should ever take? Brush your teeth. Can't begin to understand why I let mine rot. But while dentures may be easier to look after, they will never be as comfortable or as functional as my original set. This needs to be way higher up. I can't stress how important it is to brush at least twice a day, especially before bed. Out of curiosity, how bad were your guys' brushing habits and for how long? As a child, my brushing habits were fine as far as I can remember, but I still ended up with a mouthful of cavities, and now my teeth are continuing to have issues as I, and the fillings, get older. On the other hand, my wife and her 10 siblings never had a single cavity growing up, and she describes her childhood brushing habits as much more lax than mine. It seems some people just have better teeth than others. But I'll tell you from personal experience, I don't care how strong you think your teeth are, do your best to take care of them because they don't grow back. Living with unhealthy teeth can get very painful, and fixing them is expensive. It's partly to do with how well your saliva acts as a buffer. If your saliva is crap at neutralizing acids, then you will most likely end up with fillings. That and fluoridated water. My kids grew up on fluoridated water and supplements, and good dental habits. I didn't have the H2O, so, even with good habits, still wound up with a mouth full of cavities. Edit, geez, didn't mean to set off a shitstorm, lol. Never knew people were so passionate about fluoride. Yeah, there's a lot of other things that factor in, including genetics. One of childhood's biggest lies is that as long as you take care of your teeth, you will never have a cavity. Not to say that you shouldn't take oral hygiene seriously, but you shouldn't feel shame or like you've failed because you still get issues with your teeth. Let me put it this way, you ever been to the dentist? Not me. Joining an MLM. It's a financial disaster unless you are one of the very few people who are in at the beginning, or have a large following that will buy what you sell, and have proven this already. MLM products are expensive and low quality, and the way they make money is predatory, and not logically possible for anyone not at the top of the scheme. Don't buy MLM. You are only enabling your friends, family, acquaintances, etc. to stay in this scam for longer and lose more money in the long run if you do. You will not be helping them. Just like you wouldn't give alcohol to an alcoholic, don't give money to an MLM, no matter who is selling it. I refuse to buy from MLMs, and every couple weeks or so I see someone else in my social network get roped into LipSense, Color Street, Arbonne, etc. And I brace myself for the "hey girl" message. Thankfully no one's gotten too aggressive or guilt-trippy yet, but I know how these companies convince you that if your friends truly care about you, they'll try the product and help you grow your business, which leads some distributors to take rejection super personally. Yes. Anything you come across that has Amway, Herbalife, or any business that you earn money by recruiting people under you is a no-no. I can go on and explain why this system won't work, and how these companies slither away from lawsuits in the US if anyone's interested. Like doTERRA. Yup. r/anti-MLM has a good list on the sidebar, with a ton of known MLMs. Marrying for money. My mom lives around a sea of housewives who all want to leave their husbands but can't because they've never had a career, and wouldn't be able to survive on their own financially. Basically the town I grew up in. Hot trophy wives left and right that only married for money. Not all the moms were gold diggers, but a good majority were just living their best life on their rich husband's dime. Shopping, cars, fancy brunches with the other trophy wives. It is so very obvious. They would not survive 2 weeks on their own. Are they generally happy though? What about the husbands? People pleasing. As a wise man once said, you can't make everyone happy, you're not pizza. A man and his son were once going with their donkey to market. As they were walking along by its side, a countryman passed them and said, "You fools, what is a donkey for but to ride upon?" So the man put the boy on the donkey, and they went on their way. But soon they passed a group of men, one of whom said, "See that lazy youngster, he lets his father walk while he rides." So the man ordered his boy to get off, and got on himself. But they hadn't gone far when they passed two women, one of whom said to the other, "Shame on that lazy lout to let his poor little son trudge along." Well, the man didn't know what to do, but at last he took his boy up before him on the donkey. By this time they had come to the town, and the passers-by began to jeer and point at them. The man stopped and asked what they were scoffing at. The men said, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself for overloading that poor donkey of yours, you and your hulking son?" The man and boy got off and tried to think what to do. They thought and they thought, till at last they cut down a pole, tied the donkey's feet to it, and raised the pole and the donkey to their shoulders. They went along amid the laughter of all who met them till they came to Market Bridge, when the donkey, getting one of his feet loose, kicked out, and caused the boy to drop his end of the pole. In the struggle the donkey fell over the bridge, and his 4 feet being tied together he was drowned. "That will teach you," said an old man who had followed them, "please all, and you will please none." Aesop's Fable. When I was growing up in the Middle East, I went to a school that had a huge mural on the wall of the school courtyard with that story. It made a huge impression on me that was the lesson the school wanted me to remember, and I did. Now this is a beautiful teaching for kids. Do you think it helped down the line? I wish I had learned this lesson as a little kid. Yes, it definitely helped me. Maybe it made me a bit rebellious in my family, in the sense that I didn't try to please my siblings and parents as much, and truly carved my own identity. I think Aesop was saying we should listen to our own hearts, as the one constant throughout life. All the advice coming from others is just that, advice, to be considered and then followed or discarded. Good for you, sounds like the perfect balance. If I ever have kids, I'll try to teach them the same, and then regret when they don't listen to me. Are there pictures of this wall anywhere? Sounds like a cool wall. I assume that school is long gone, I'm sorry to say. It was in Isfahan, in a French lycée, and that mural covered one full wall of the courtyard where we played. It was like being hammered every day with the lesson, think for yourself, kids. There once was a rabbit that wanted to please everyone. He ate grass with the cow, put on wool for the sheep, swam with the fish, and hopped with the frog. But the fox wasn't happy. So the rabbit asked Fox, "How do I make you happy?" And the fox pulled out a pot and started boiling water in it. "Get in the pot," the fox answered. And so the rabbit got in, and was boiled alive, but the fox was happy. You can't make everyone happy without destroying yourself. Yep, been there, done that. A relationship for the sake of having a relationship. Or ignoring the doubts that should really be considered. You may just end up in an abusive marriage that lasts far too long because you no longer have the self-confidence to leave and do what's best for your child. Just a hypothetical, of course. Or getting married because you want to be married. Or getting married / having a kid because you think it will fix your currently rocky relationship. These are the type of marriages that end up using the kids against each other, therefore fucking up a whole new generation for their own selfish toxicity. Ouch. I felt that. 40 years later, I am still suffering the side effects of being weaponized by both parents against the other. I see it all the time, and it breaks my heart. Hope you're doing okay now. Currently attempting to avoid exactly this. Unfortunately, I think it will mean the end of the relationship, and I understand why people actually go through with this kind of thing now. We're basically stuck in this vicious circle where I can't commit to marriage and kids unless I feel more secure about the quality of our relationship, while she can't feel secure in the relationship without the commitment of marriage/kids. It's quite the pickle. Counseling. A friend of mine has an ex like this. They were together for a couple years, making plans to build a house together and get married. They broke up, which was absolutely for the best. A month later, she was dating another dude. Another month later, they're engaged. She's 23. Society is really bad about reinforcing that. People think you're weird if you tell them you're happily single. I can't count how many pitiful glances get thrown my way when I say I am not seeing anyone or in a long-term relationship. I am not even halfway in my 20s yet. I am 19, not in a relationship. And mom is already asking about grandchildren. Should I be concerned about not being in a relationship? No. Not being in one is fine. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'm entering my late 20s as a single guy and am more than happy with it. I've dated and dabbled but always ended up happier by myself. Yes, this and staying in a relationship because relationships take work. Yes, it's true you do need to make an effort to have a good relationship with your significant other. But not at the sake of your own safety, sanity, or self-worth. I was raised with that mindset and stayed in a relationship with an insecure, emotionally abusive asshole for 2 years because relationships take work. Finally realized this jerk will never change, and I will spend my life in misery if I stay. Love yourself first and know your worth. Neglecting your own health. Used to think I'm damn near invincible because I'm still young. Worked about 70 hours a week, just for that damn raise. Neglected health checkups just because I can. Got diagnosed with glaucoma, and my left eye is quite fucked up. Not sure what the future holds for me, but I'm damn sure taking care of my body now. I read this after I've just been given a month off for a concussion I got a few weeks ago. My natural instinct is to power through it, but then I read this and think my health isn't worth this 9 to 5 at the end of the day. You do not mess with concussions. Concussions may not seem as bad as a broken bone, but they are. Listen to your doctor. They know what's best. I didn't take it as serious as I should at the start, but it's been like 3 weeks, and the symptoms are still affecting me, so now it's big recovery time. Gotta listen to my body while I am still in shape. I literally was in the same position as you a month ago. Computer screens and stress delayed and slowed my recovery so much. Don't mess around with concussion, kids. Did the same with my Crohn's disease. Thought I could deal with it and fight it on my own. Now I'm about to lose my colon and have an ostomy bag. 2020 has been one to forget. Edit, hot damn. Thanks for all the supportive words. LOL, I actually just left my surgeon's office. September 24th is game day. Stoked to start getting better. I just got a colostomy bag due to Crohn's this year. I feel that. Hashtag Crohn's buddies. I've quickly learned to work the required hours and only do overtime if needed because companies simply don't care about their workers. I do enjoy my current job and the money that comes with it, but once I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock. Rest and relaxation is something I wish more people were allowed to actually do instead of working themselves into a grave. May I ask what changes you have made since? Started changing my diet from mostly processed foods to more vegetables and fruits. Still worked an office job but rested my eyes more frequently and less worked up over stuff. Tried to get about 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Not sure if it's gonna help, but should be something, I guess. Spend more than you earn. This. And the guy at the bank isn't your friend. He literally is. We play D&D on Thursdays. Well then, congratulations, lucky guy. Does he roll a shit ton of nat 20s or 1s? Got myself into some credit card debt this way. Was afraid to admit to my parents. When I told my dad, he took it much better than I expected, and I'm doing better money-wise. Meth. Heroin also springs to mind. Remember that Reddit user that bought some on a whim, did an AMA about the experience, and then ended up going through years of addiction hell, dying from an OD, then being revived and finally getting clean. Do you mean spontaneous? You/spontaneous remember reading through his post history, and seeing all the classic, I am not addicted, I can stop whenever I want stuff. It was actually kind of scary to read. But it's so common. I have an ex-friend who was as addicted to alcohol, and his level of denial was unbelievable. I had to cut ties with him. I am assuming my ex-friend is dead now, as he was dealing with serious health problems from drinking, but that was not enough to stop him. To be honest, I don't think he wanted to be alive. Denial is a huge component of addiction for almost anyone who has it. In recovery, I've seen people do some horrendous shit, and they still aren't convinced they have a problem. It's wild. But it's also an important part of justifying why you're allowed to have a drink. Plus, nothing makes you want to drink more than doing something extremely shitty, so I guess the cycle just goes on forever. Dad can drink a handle of whiskey a day, has huge shakes to the point he can't write by hand if not drinking, and can't take more than 2 bites of food before his body starts rejecting it/vomiting without the alcohol. Guy weighs 93 pounds at 5'9" and looks like death. He doesn't think he has a problem. He's been told he has a problem for nearly 30 years. Denial is a hell of a drug. Everyone says it can't happen to them until it does. I think so. Definitely him. You/spontaneous. He was the first person I thought of when I saw this AskReddit post. Honestly, I remember people were arguing about if it was fake or not, and then he got really mad and started talking about how it wasn't a fucking joke, and that he was really frustrated with it. He was like, do you want me to send you the fucking 16 hospitals I went to and such? It was really sad. I can understand being skeptical about any story posted on the internet, but it's not exactly like opioid addiction is uncommon, or an unlikely result of trying heroin. There's nothing unbelievable about his story. This one. Coming up on 4 years clean from H. I won a DARE essay in grammar school. Graduated high school top of my class with academic scholarship to University of Alabama. Was amateur professional motocross racer. Had a beautiful fiancé and loving family. Got hurt racing a prescribed opioid medication. Quickly became addicted, and after a year of buying pills, decided to try a cheap alternative, heroin. That quickly led to 4 use. I overdosed 3 times, spent 3 years in jail and rehabs, halfway houses, and lost everything. To this day my family won't talk to me. I finally got a great job, bought 2 cars, paid off, new home, paid off foreclosure, remodeled so it's new to me. And have a fiancé that is the best person I've ever met. The worst conclusion to my life is there is no joy. Heroin took that from me. Life is dull and meaningless. I haven't experienced true happiness in many years. Also, self-harm often haunts me. Please never do drugs. 10-4 on the no joy part. A year of hydrocodone for medical issues took that from me. I can't imagine how bad it is after heroin. I am married and boy do I feel shitty for always feeling shitty. I am never happy. I can't say I've been happy in years. I feel so bad for my husband at times. I have to force happiness and pretend, but he knows and he hurts because I am not happy. All because I broke my leg and was on morphine, oxy, Norco for 2 years. Honest question, what positive emotions/experiences do you have that keep you going? Can you explain a bit more about no joy in life? I'd be happy to, but I'm about to leave for a dentist appointment. I will reply to everyone's comments as soon as possible. The no joy I believe stems from the overstimulation I put in my body, daily, over a period of 10+ years. I've experienced the highest of highs from heroin and meth, and I've since not experienced anything that gives me even close to the same euphoria that for drugs did. I'm also not certain being revived from Narcan 3 times served a big role in this. When I was snapped back to this reality from that black, very peaceful, floating darkness, I felt extreme hate, discomfort, and felt like I'd been cheated out of something incredible. I guess death. When I was snapped back to this reality from that black, very peaceful, floating darkness, I felt extreme hate, discomfort, and felt like I'd been cheated out of something incredible. I guess death. This is quite terrifying. My very close friend passed away from cancer a few days ago, and I cannot imagine feeling cheated about not going where he has gone. Heroin is absolutely terrifying. In a nutshell, using drugs for extended periods of time will burn out the dopamine receptors in your brain. You will be physically incapable of experiencing happiness. The joy you experienced from your artificial high is only borrowing from your future self. This is why so many former addicts commit suicide. They don't feel happiness when they watch their children graduate from high school, or when they overcome difficult tasks. The apathy toward life we occasionally feel becomes their permanent reality. The joy you experienced from your artificial high is only borrowing from your future self. Wow, your whole comment gives a great explanation, but that line is beautiful. That is all true, but it's even more than that. When you are truly addicted, you never get over it. You never don't want it. You always miss the high, and with meth or heroin it is always on the back of your mind like an itch you can't scratch. You are fighting an uphill battle every minute of every day for the rest of your life, and if you allow yourself to give in to your urges for just 1 minute, it destroys the years of work that you put in up to that point. I've been clean almost 2 years and there isn't a single day that goes by where I don't wish I could use just one more time. I know better, and I don't do it, but that urge is so strong sometimes I have to physically walk away from my phone to stop myself from making that call. Cut. Been 6 years. The further you get away from it, the easier it gets. I am wondering this myself. I am a recovered addict and life has been amazing since I ditched opioids. Not op, but this can be a matter of comparison. If the loudest music you ever heard was from an iPhone on max volume, then that would be loud music. If you then went to a rock concert with front row tickets, when you listened to your iPhone from then on, the loudest setting wouldn't be comparable to your new reference point for loudness. Having experienced a more emphatic version of loud, nothing would seem loud anymore. Now imagine that rock concerts destroyed your life and relationships. My brother's ex-wife had an affair and left him for her side piece. Side piece got her into meth. Now, the side piece is dead of an overdose, and she has severely damaged her career in health care. I never liked her, especially after the affair, but I wouldn't wish a meth habit on anyone. My sister-in-law did what the AA folks call a geographic fix, and moved 2,000 miles away from the folks she did crack and meth with. She smokes a ton of weed, but nothing harder than that, and has a successful career. She is an exception to the rule, I suspect. I don't know if she's an exception to the rule. I think I had read some article about how there are lots of examples of American soldiers who did heroin in Vietnam came back and kicked their habits. Being away from the shit helped them get off the shit. This one seems obvious, but a lot of people make the mistake of trying it. I have never understood why people try meth. I have never seen anyone on meth and thought to myself, damn, that looks fun. Every single time I see someone on meth it looks like a complete nightmare, and I am like, fuck that shit, I have no desire to try that garbage. I bet it seems a lot more reasonable if you're in a party type of scene, and you're regularly doing drugs that you can convince yourself are just for casual fun, MDMA, a line of coke here, and there to stay out partying longer, ketamine as a treat if it's offered, etc. Then a friend of a friend happens to have some meth on them, you're already high on other shit, might as well keep the adventure going and try it once, right? Yes, exactly. I've definitely had times where I was fucked up enough on each of those that I would have tried meth if it was offered. Luckily it never happened. I've got a buddy who was sold MDMA capsules that were actually meth, or at least cut with it. He said they were in a group doing it, and someone else who had tried meth brought up how this felt different. Then they all thought, fuck it, let's keep doing it. Then snorted and ate meth all night. He said he woke up with the biggest craving for any substance he has ever experienced. He is to this day a pack-a-day cigarette smoker. He said that desire he has to do it again scared him enough he has not touched it in years. He has some kids now and seems to be doing all right. Not the worst, but procrastination. It becomes a habit really fast, from my experience. Edit, I never stopped procrastinating, which is something that I hate. Sorry if the comment is a bit misleading, but I don't have any advice on how to stop since I am unable to myself. I'll start exercising tomorrow. I'll clean up later. I started saying these things years ago, and only recently started running again. Edit, I used to be able to do 300 sit-ups almost every day. Now I can barely 35, but that's progress from when I could only do 10. Oof. Yep. I have a bad habit of leaving trash pile up around my apartment. I live by myself, never have friends over, and telling myself I'll clean up on my day off, but then my day off comes, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to waste it cleaning up this big mess, so then I just live in a state of filth for a few months. On Friday I finally mustered up the motivation to at least get everything in a couple garbage bags that are now waiting in my bedroom to be taken out to the dumpster. Speaking of which, I'm gonna vacuum right now since I'm not doing anything else productive at the moment. Edit, 1 bag of trash has made its way to the dumpster, 2 more to go. Update when vacuuming is done, please. All done. It only takes like 10 minutes, but when I keep putting it off it feels more daunting than it really is, lol. But now I can walk around barefoot. Now the bags. Edit, good job. LOL, thanks. I'm gonna take 1 bag out when I'm on my way to buy some new clothes and shoes for my new job, so I promise they won't be sitting in my room for long. Fellow procrastinator here, you should do the bags right now. We both know how this ends. I wish I could upvote this twice. I love how he just procrastinated without even noticing. Do today what you say you'll do tomorrow, because tomorrow you'll say the same thing. Never take the path of I know better than everyone else. Even the absolute dumbest person can teach you something. Same goes for a person a lot younger than you or someone you can't respect. Always be willing to learn and grow. There's a catch to this though. There are toxic people such as family that are hard to get away from, and they will force their bullshit on you constantly. You can listen, but only you know in your heart what is right for you. Edit, this blew up a bit. So I thought I'd explain my situation in a little more detail. Growing up I was close to my cousins and my aunt. We aren't technically blood related as both my mom and aunt were adopted from different families. My mom got really ill in the early 2000s when I was between 8 and 10. Bad surgeries, followed by chronic pain, followed by opioid dependency from the pain she was in. My mom did the best she could given her circumstances, but things were fucked up. I'm 28 now and my mom passed away last year. This jumped me into severe depression and anxiety, and I was having issues with my spouse already. My cousins look at my depression, anxiety, and everything wrong with me as an excuse, and it's so easy just to stop and make my life better. I hadn't talked to my cousins in about 2 years when she had passed. My aunt was in Norway when it happened and I couldn't get a hold of her. I knew she was with my cousin and my calls were ignored until I sent a message about it being a serious emergency, just so you know where we stood. I had cut them out of my life as they were toxic towards me and constantly judging me while I was just trying to survive and deal with a sick mom, while I should be out with friends, engaging in hobbies, being a young teen, and eventually an adult. They supposedly want the best for me, but they never reach out to me. They have lived the most sheltered lives I have seen. They have had very little hardship from my perspective, and the kind they have had was easy for them to overcome, I guess. My aunt doesn't know how to process her grief and expects me to have some sort of mother-son relationship, though she always doubts my life choices, and no matter what I do she seems displeased. My cousins don't text or call me really. One of them does, but I just don't know what to say to her, as I don't want to burden her with my bullshit. I really was dead set on not really having contact with them much anymore. I am doing fine on my own. I have a beautiful apartment, a decent job. I'm marrying my spouse who I love very much. I have 2 great dogs who are really awesome. Yet they still cling on to the fact I haven't finished school, or I don't have a good enough paying job. If it wasn't that, it would be something else. Yes, and there will be a catch to every path you take. But just like I learned from the toxic people in my life, I believe everyone can learn what not to do from them. Picking a career path to fulfill your parents' dream. It almost ruined my self-identity. Currently I am doing a course I like at a university of my choice. I might have destroyed my relationship with my mother, but for the sake of my own sanity it was worth it. My brother's girlfriend wanted to go to school for nursing. Her parents told her not to do that because then her only option would be to be a nurse. She spent 4 years getting her bachelor's in something else, then ended up having to spend 2 years at community college to get her associate's in nursing, which is what she wanted in the first place. Waste of so much time and money. I'm going to a nursing school. But your only option will be nursing when you graduate. Well duh. It's crap anyway that it's the only option it gives you. Nurses have plenty of transferable skills. I know that must have been a tough choice to make, but I can assure you that it's the right one. Nicotine addiction. It's really hard to quit. I haven't smoked in years and I get cravings now and then. I can't imagine how hard it would be if I had been a regular smoker. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has shared their stories, and thank you to everyone who will see this post share theirs or won't. Your reasons are your own. This probably doesn't mean much from a complete stranger, but I am proud of each and every one of you for your strength and your diligence to improving your lives. To anyone trying to quit, read the comments below. We're all here for you. I smoked for 10 years. I am not going to say it was easy to quit, because it's not, but it's not as hard as people make it out to be. The beginning is obviously the hardest part, but if you can get through week 1, every week after that gets easier and easier. Once you get to a point that you can feel the difference in health, it's easy to just be like, no, I don't want to feel how smoking made me feel anymore. One thing that helped me the most is that I essentially forced myself to say in my head whenever I wanted a cigarette, I don't smoke. I am not a smoker anymore. It sounds dumb, but if you commit to yourself in that way, it's more motivating than saying, I am going to try to quit. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Me personally, having had smoked for 8 years, there were more times than not where I'd just unconsciously head to my porch and smoke. The association was so real. Literally just being outside equals time for a cig break. Driving is the worst for me. And I drive for a living, damn it. As an ER nurse, I met so many people who kicked heroin, meth, benzos, crack, you name it. But the nicotine just couldn't be beat. ETA, for anyone identifying with this, I am in no way disparaging your condition. In fact, after seeing what I have, I am so fucking proud of you for getting off the hard stuff, because that is one hell of a thing to achieve and maintain. If you're still trying to ditch cigarettes, I really hope you win that fight too, and wish you the best. When I was in my psych program, I remember reading a peer-reviewed article that found smoking is the most addictive habit we humans form. It shocked me because it made a point to compare it to heroin addiction, and still found that smoking resulted in more instances of relapse and cravings amongst the research participants. I have heard from 2 people who kicked heroin that smoking is the real bitch to quit. Usually people are impressed I managed to switch entirely to a vape with the lowest nicotine level. I'm at the point where I can vape all day, but if I smoke a cigarette I get lightheaded and I hate the smell and taste. But the last jump to no nicotine, and eventually no vaping, just feels impossible. Currently on day 3 nicotine-free. Day 2 RN. I've made it to 5 before bumming off coworkers. I've managed to not buy anything for myself for a couple months though. For anyone truly ready to overcome nicotine addiction, please give The Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr a read. Never thought a self-help book could help so much with something like this, but this one will undo years of brainwashing. I went from smoking a pack a day for the majority of 9 years to 0 without any withdrawal. Double this. The book makes the promise that after you finish reading it, about 100 pages, you will never smoke again. Sounds too good to be true, but it worked for me. Don't self-medicate with booze and or drugs, the former being my problem for years. Find out the reason why you want to self-medicate in the first place, and get the appropriate help/guidance. Also, don't self-medicate with food. This is the one that crept up on me when I developed a chronic illness. A childhood of bad experiences with an alcoholic dad saved me from booze/drugs, but comfort eating plus a decreased ability to exercise is a potent mix. Thor from Endgame was a big eye-opener for where I was personally. At least you have recognized this. That has to be one of the biggest steps. This one snuck up on me after university. Classic case of working a stressful job that I hated, not exercising, and eating junk to comfort the depression I wasn't willing to face. I'm in a much better place now, but I still get crazy urges to binge on fast food when I am feeling stressed. I did that to escape the feelings of my sister's death. Over 2 years sober now, but I know how that road goes, and it's a shitty and short one for many PPL. Living a life based only on the assumptions of someone who feeds on your admiration, parent, mentor, abusive relationship, etc. Can you please explain it to me? Didn't quite get it. Sometimes egotistical, narcissists, or overbearing people are in a position of authority in your life, or have the advantage of your love for them. Parental, mentoring, and parental relations are usually founded on some type of admiration. So are romantic or infatuation relationships. There may be the conditioning dynamics, they raised you or you think they are more important. This allows them to dictate your actions. The problem with this is their love is conditional, and they are never satisfied. It's like a donkey chasing the proverbial carrot. Finding yourself trying to fit their mold will be exhausting. It's best to ask ourselves, if I do what really makes me happy, will this person respect me? Or am I doing this for me or to gain their approval? A life of asking questions without making an effort to find out. Does he secretly hate me? Will she be disgusted if I asked her out? Would I be wasting my time if I studied to be a professional ice cream maker? Will I be happy if I leave him? Is this lump going to be a problem? Etc. Worse still, some people make up their own pessimistic, dismissive answers. Of course he hates me, I am a piece of shit. Of course she won't go out with me, she probably likes that asshole Chad. Of course I'll never make money making custom ice cream, that's a stupid dream. Of course I am not going to be happy, he beats me, but who else is going to love me? This lump is probably nothing, and if it is cancer I don't want to confirm it. Have a question. Find out the answer. Well, negative self-talk this severe is obviously a mental health disorder that can lead to depression, failed relationships, all sorts of stuff really, so the answer is to see a psychologist and work on it. Should I see a psychologist? Nah, it's probably not serious anyway. I might look like a fool coming to see a psychologist and it turns out to be nothing. What did I do to you to deserve such brutality, LMAO? Haha man, that's dark. It's true though, so often we are our own worst enemy through self-sabotage. This is how I felt for months while coming to grips with my mental health issues. I'd already been seeing a therapist for another issue, so I think talking through it helped. While your worst day might be someone else's best, it's still your worst day. Living on other people's opinions. I fairly often ask other people's opinion on me, cause they can see me more objectively than I can. Edit, I never said I rely on other opinions. I have a certain opinion about myself and the things I do, and by asking others for their opinion on me I am checking if I am right or wrong. I hear their opinion, process it and decide if I think they're right or wrong. It's certainly better for self-improvement than disregarding anything anyone tells you, at least in my opinion. Which is fine if you know how to be responsible with that information. I.e., don't obsess over it. Change what you can and would want to change. And be confident in the parts you don't want to change. Unless people's opinion is that you're an asshole, and you don't want to change from being an asshole. I hate this but agree with it. For many years I dated men and people always seemed confused by it. I was literally the last person to discover I am gay. Your Mac from Sunny in Philadelphia. Toxic friends or family. Offload those people, life is too short for that kind of stress. This is absolutely true. Don't feel like you have to be the better sibling to people who treat you like garbage. There is a reason so many people live so far away from family members. Living a life guided by what you see on social media. Social comparison, especially upward social comparison, is something we all do, and at times it can be a positive, motivational force for us to better our lives to match those of others, or it can be a negative one that make us feel shittier about ourselves. The thing about social media, however, is that it plays into the negatives of social comparison, as people, whether our friends, family, or celebrities, tend to only share the highlights of their lives on social media, whether it's a vacation at an exotic location, an accomplishment such as graduation, and in general just the nicer parts of life. This leads to an unrealistic perception that other people's lives are all sunshine and rainbows, in comparison to our own dull lives, when viewed from the lens of social media. The fact is that, life for everyone isn't actually as interesting as we think it is, but yet our warped view of it becomes an unattainable benchmark that some would fall into the trap of setting for themselves. We come to be deceived into believing that if our lives aren't all hunky-dory, then we are failing at life. Intrinsically, it may make us less content with our own lives, less grateful for what we have, bitter even. Extrinsically, we may end up doing a lot of unnecessary things to delude others and ourselves, that our lives are just as great, overcompensating by doing things that we aren't actually intrinsically happy doing, but just for the sake of embellishing our lives for the gram. After all, if we're comparing our lives to others on social media, they'd be comparing theirs to ours to right. Well, I better look damn good for it then. When in reality, most people don't care much about how you live your life, they're too busy with theirs. I'm rambling, but I guess I feel so strongly about this because it's something that I've only recently woken up to, and I've been a lot happier since. Just living a down-to-earth life in the present, in the real world, is a lot more satisfying in the long run. But I guess social media provides a quicker gratification that unfortunately easily turns into an unhealthy fixation. Stay with an abusive person in any kind of relationship. Edit. Wow, thanks y'all, never gotten such awards and upvotes, didn't expect this. No matter how much you think you can change them, or get them to see that they're hurting you, it's not going to work. They understand what they are doing and don't care. The only people getting hurt are you and the people who care about you. I wish I knew this with my last relationship. We dated for 10 months and things got toxic really fast. She started off as sweet and kind, but once COVID started she became extremely toxic. I'm now going through therapy because she exploited all my insecurities. I kept telling myself I could help her. But boy am I glad I am single now and learning. Same thing happened to me. Hurts to think someone could do that to another person. Gangs. Staying with someone you don't love just because you don't want to be alone. Not treating your depression from the start with a professional and trying to overcome it alone. 6 years later down the road, diagnosed with severe depression and anhedonia. Currently on medication. Life changed drastically. It is like taking off a pair of gray and dark glasses. Mental health is no joke and should be a priority in everyone's life. Edit. There's a lot of comments that I can't get through in time. Trying to reply to everybody. Thank you for the awards, kind strangers. Depression is a sadistic beast. So happy to hear your life has changed for the better. Thanks. I hate that in the UK, whenever I sought help over the last 10 or so years, I have been pushed to do CBT. It does not help me, and yet, the powers that be keep pushing it on people. Only last week, my therapist finally admitted I need a different type of therapy, but now, if I quit, I apparently won't qualify for a new session. So instead, I am doing this bullshit thought diary every fucking week, waiting for this BS to end, so that I can apply to have some appropriate therapy. Meanwhile, there are people whose place I am taking up because of this goddamn system. I was in the same position, until I was assigned the right therapist for my CBT. Then it became really helpful. What doesn't help is that the standardized materials they give you are so patronizing and outdated. I was failing at the first hurdle because one look told me they weren't going to help. But having a therapist who listened and heard my concerns, and who introduced the CBT elements dynamically into our sessions when relevant, got me to engage more and start making them work for me. Happy you're in a better place now, dude. Taking the road that's expected of you, marriage, kids, career, etc., without contemplating if it's the right thing for you. I always felt impending doom at the thought of having kids and tearing up my vagina, and then one day it clicked and I suddenly realized I don't have to have kids at all if I don't want to. It was like a £1,000,000 weight was taken off me. Plus the added bonus of realizing I am gay, so I'll never have any accidents. Being careless with your head. Wear a damn helmet and be careful. Goddamn traumatic brain injuries / concussions fucked me up badly. Lost mega IQ, lost a decade of memory. Lost the ability to easily remember stuff. Lost emotional control. It's been 20 years and I still struggle. But I died 3x and it didn't take, so I guess I'm doing okay. Don't make major decisions, marriage, moving together, having kids, sharing finances, etc., about a relationship during the honeymoon stage. That could be an indicator of compatibility but not a certainty. If you want to think of the honeymoon stage, think of it like this: a spark can start a fire, but a spark is not the fire. Edit. This has come up a bit, so I will copy my previous answer to this post as to how long to wait for the honeymoon stage. I am no relationship expert and only speak from experience. All I can say is that the honeymoon stage is a, for lack of a better word, deceitful stage. When you are in the honeymoon stage, you think the rest of your relationship will be like that. In reality, you will be doing very mundane things. You will be doing chores, you will be going to work, you will be paying bills, you may even be raising kids. I have come to learn that what makes a relationship work are compatible values. Some values are more important than others. From my experience, moral values, some people intertwine this with religion. Values regarding money and children cannot be compromised on and need to be in alignment. For me, personally, I would also add religious and political values, although there are some who do not consider these to be important. Like I said, if the honeymoon stage is a spark, then relationships are like a fire. A fire needs to be fed constantly in order to be kept alive. If you feed it nice, well-dried out logs, the warmer and pleasant it will be, and it will keep you warm. On the other hand, if you feed it plastic cans, spray bottles, batteries and other harmful substances, the more poisonous it will be and it may choke or kill you. Think of what you feed the fire as compatibility. The more compatible you are, the more in alignment you are, the more in tune and in alignment you will be, and the more pleasant and fulfilling your relationship will be. On the other hand, toxic people can still keep a relationship going, although it will be toxic. Just like using the fire analogy, you can also keep the fire going by throwing in poisonous spray cans in the fire. You will still have a fire, albeit a toxic and unhealthy one. Even if one person is feeding in nice and well-dried logs and another is feeding in toxic substances into the fire will still keep going, even though the fire is not good for you. One of the hardest pill I have had to swallow is, just because you love one another, does not mean you can make it work. Using the analogy, just because you can keep the fire going, does not mean it is good for you. I have found that compatibility matters. There may be some maladjustment that needs to be made here and there, but not to the extent that you sacrifice everything, your hopes, your dreams, your goals, and that which makes you who you are. I have also found out that there are key areas where compatibility is paramount for the success of the relationship. Emotional compatibility is important. It is not healthy to maintain a relationship with someone who is emotionally immature. Mental compatibility is important. Abusive relationships are not good for anyone, period. Even if you have some good times, abuse only gets worse. Other areas such as values on money, how and where to spend it, whether finances will be shared or separated, financial freedom. Values regarding children, if spouses want children, how they will raise them, how they will discipline them, etc. are very important. Surprisingly enough, one thing I have come across with parents is how they will say that nothing they do to discipline their child works. When you ask them to say how they discipline their children, you get a sense of one parent wanting to discipline the child and the other undermining the discipline. It always puzzles me how very few people talk about discipline of children. They talk about wanting to have children, the number of children, the religion children will have, the values they will instill, but somehow discipline rarely makes it to the table. Morals are also important and also obvious. Some equate morals with religion, but to each their own. This is too broad a spectrum to expand upon, as it varies too much to be put to simple words. Political alignment is for some important, but not all, although political alignment could be intertwined with values. Physical compatibility is important. Physical attractiveness is subjective to everyone, but I have had the experience that you have to be physically attracted to your partner. I really cannot tell you when the honeymoon stage ends. All I can talk about is my experience. I can say for certain that when you experience your first hardship, and I am not talking about a fight over who gets to sleep on which side of the bed, and somehow manage to weather through, having healthy conversations and disagreements, then that is a good sign. You may not agree on everything, but you can respectfully see the other's perspective and agree to disagree. If you are always fighting, yelling at each other, unable to see the other's perspective, then that is not a good sign. If you never ever fight, then that is most certainly not a good sign. It is impossible for two independent personalities to coexist and have similar worldviews in every conceivable way. If such a relationship exists, then one of the two has most certainly sacrificed their inherent personality, individuality, and idiosyncrasies. This would not be a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships exist between two emotionally, mentally, and to whatever degree, financially independent individuals engage one another. Think of it like the Olympic rings that are intertwined in a balanced way, except with two people. There is a me part and a we part. If the rings are in such a way that there is too much of the me part, then it sounds as if the values are not compatible in a balanced way. If there is too much of the we part, then that sounds like a codependent relationship. So, it is not so much as looking for a time frame for when the honeymoon stage will end, but rather looking at the relationship as a whole, based on actual experience rather than heightened emotions. I've only just learnt this recently, and wish I learnt it much sooner. Blaming others around you for your own emotional state. This is one of the biggest causes of broken relationships and homes. In my anecdotal experience, it's been primarily a male thing, but anyone is susceptible to this shitty behavior. This is how it works. I wake up one day and am feeling really irritable, because yesterday, I was working, today I learned late, didn't get any time to myself since I was busy with chores all evening, and my wife fell asleep really quickly, so I didn't get a chance to talk anything out and couldn't fall asleep. I walk into the kitchen and it's dirty, because I didn't get to the kitchen last night. I feel immediately angry, but at what? I can't be angry at myself, my ego won't allow it. So instead, I get angry at my wife. I accuse her of not cleaning the kitchen, and if she gets defensive, then I double down on how she's emotionally unavailable for my needs. This turns into a fight. It spirals. Eventually we make up, but without resolving anything. Rinse and repeat this a few dozen times, and you have a broken, domineering relationship. Take responsibility for your feelings. In the scenario above, go for a walk, read a book. Do something you enjoy, calm down. It's no one's job to make you feel better, including, and especially, the people you live with. You can ask them, sure, but if they don't want to help you, then you have to help yourself. And if they truly never want to help you, then don't get angry, ask yourself, why are you with them in the first place? Solve your own problems, ask for help with them if you need it, but don't just dump them on others. Opiates. Trust me. Putting your responsibilities on others. Turning to alcohol to ease emotional pain. The path of victimization. To believe everything and everyone around you is to blame but yourself. Very toxic lifestyle, it can suck the life out of you and leave you with nothing and no one. Going to college just for the experience. Student debt is no joke. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. My parents really want me to go, but we certainly can't afford it, as I have other siblings in college too, and I'm still not even sure if it's right for me. Just be smart about it. Don't spend big and get all sorts of loans to go to a private school. Pick a major you can live with and go to a state school. Preferably in your state so it's even cheaper. College doesn't have to be a financial nightmare. You just need to set your sights a bit modestly and forget about the biggest, best colleges around. Unless maybe you're the type that will land full-ride scholarships or something. But maybe I am biased. Went as a commuter to a local state college, way cheaper than living on campus. Got a degree in computer engineering technology. I got a job and worked hard to pay off my debts quickly. Living very lean for my first few years and paid off $60K in loans in about 3 to 4 years. I literally lived like I was broke even though I got into a well-paying job. I now live debt-free and work as a software engineer. Have an emergency fund which would pay off my car loan and let me live for 6 to 12 months without a job. Now I currently rent my mother's in-law apartment, which saves me big right now, but that growing emergency fund will be a down payment on a house someday. Trying to help a lame duck. As someone who's been burned multiple times because of this, I understand the temptation to save a lame duck yourself. You've got a spare bedroom you're not using, you've got some spare cash lying around, and all you want to do is help. It's a natural human response. The problem is, the help that they need has to come from qualified professionals, or a state institution, or even their own family. You're not even remotely qualified to provide that help yourself. All you will be doing is shouldering a financial and emotional burden that will only drag you down with them. Or you will have to cut them loose, which is also painful. Think of it like this: if you found a literal lame duck, you'd take it to a vet, rather than try and fix it yourself. It's the same principle for metaphorical ones. Classic vicious cycle of narcissist/empathy relationship, heartbreaking and inevitable. Being a chef expecting to be Bobby Flay. Realize it's a lot of hard work, long hours, never having a Saturday off. It beats you up. But the feeling when the rush is over and you're drinking a shift drink with your line cooks, who by the way are the most eclectic, funny, criminally minded, insane, smoking, drug-dependent, talented group of misfits in any industry. And you're cleaning up so you can do it all over again tomorrow. There is worse paths, I imagine. My partner is a chef. He was a programmer, but 3 years into that Joe he has a gun to his head because he hates his life so much, quit his job that day, applied to every job he could think of. Only one person gave him a chance, and it was a chef at a super busy well-known local area. That guy saw my partner's drive, took him under his wing, got my partner to lose over 200 pounds by working him to the bone. And now my partner loves his life. Because of his job we found each other, and almost 3 years later, we wouldn't be happier. I think you're right, there are worse paths for some people. Fuck COVID for taking this away from him though. This guy's a good chef with his employees, and his food surely kicks ass. Being fueled by hate instead of compassion. Owning so many big, shiny things like a large house and 2 nice cars, that you have no choice but to toil away at your high-paying, but time-consuming job, which you may not like, at least not for the rest of your career. Yet, you lay awake at night, scared that you might get fired from a job you hate, so you can't pay for the big, shiny things you've started to believe one cannot live without. Don't get pregnant unless you're really, really damn sure you have the means to support a child, with or without your partner, and will for 20+ years. Single mothers make less per child they have, whereas single fathers make the same or more with multiple children. You can get sober from drugs and you can change a bad career path, but a kid is a responsibility for life. Sauce, web address. Any path that might lead you to spending time in a US prison. Just don't. Those shady friends you hang out with in your mid to late teens, who you feel really understand you, and got your back, yeah, move on to better things. Any opiate or anything similar. Crack, heroin and meth. Even Steve-O said he wouldn't touch most of them. What wouldn't Steve-O do, huh? Sounds like words to live by, really. If Steve-O would call this shit way too crazy, it's probably way too crazy. Drugs and a life sentence for something you didn't do. Moving across the country to live with some chick you met online. I know this isn't a healthy relationship, but at least I've found someone. I ignored so many warning signs over the years. Over half my life with the same woman. After our son was born, our relationship changed. I was too busy supporting the family through 50 to 60-hour weeks. I didn't pay attention to all the changes. I didn't see until it was too late how bad her drinking became. When she hit 38, it's like a light switch flipped. Went from passively aggressive bitchiness to full-on alcoholic narcissistic abuser. And I just let it happen. I didn't try to stop her. Just tried to maintain the everything is fine mentality. I wouldn't wish what I went through on anyone. Please. Don't do what I did. Don't just settle if you're being hurt. Not giving a shit about school. One should consider him/herself lucky that they get to attend school and get an opportunity for a higher education. I know many people that either couldn't afford to go to school or didn't care, and their lives aren't what they thought they would be. The road of death in Bolivia. Empty regrets because what done can't be changed, but you can learn on your failures. Sex for money, stealing, more than occasional drug use. So hard to stop these things once you've started. Never ever try crack or smack. Wow. You are still with us. Thanks for being such a nice person. As long as you are here, why not like this video and subscribe to our channel? Also, you can press the bell icon so you won't miss any future uploads.